Have you ever wondered which were the most beautiful, brutal, and unforgettable muscle cars born during that golden era? Today, I'm taking you straight into the heart of the 1970s, where the wildest V8s roared, the designs were pure works of art, and the asphalt trembled under the power of these legends. But before we begin, I want you to tell me in the comments, if you could have just one of these monsters in your garage today, which one would you choose? And most importantly, why? I want to read your dreams, your stories, your passions. And if, like me, you love these American classics, forgotten muscle cars, motor legends, and collector's treasures, I ask you for a second. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell because that helps me keep creating these trips to the past we enjoy so much. Let's go. The roar begins now. 1970, Plymouth Barracuda. Get ready, my friends, because what you're about to witness is pure adrenaline wrapped in metal and muscle. In 1970, Plymouth didn't just want to compete in the muscle car wars, it wanted to shatter every notion of limits. That's how the Cuda was born, a beast roaring from its core with the legendary 426 HEMI V8 engine. Power? 425 horses of pure American fury, ready to unleash a storm every time the driver even brushed the accelerator. And we're not talking about a car for just anyone. Only the truly bold dared to tame this creature, capable of accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.6 seconds. Numbers that still send chills even today. But its story becomes even more fascinating when we look at its production. Plymouth built just 652 units of the HEMI Barracuda in 1970, making it an almost unreachable treasure for collectors. Today, finding one in perfect condition can easily cost between $500,000 and over $1 million, depending on authenticity, condition, and documentation. Yeah, $1 million. A car that back in its day cost a modest $4,000. And of course, its design is pure visual poetry. The muscular lines, the flared fenders, the intimidating grille, and of course, that iconic shaker hood violently vibrating with every pulse of the engine, as if the car itself was breathing, eager to devour the road. That raised hood wasn't just for show. It was fully functional, feeding the beast with cold air and optimizing performance with every brutal acceleration. A fun fact that always surprises. Some HEMI Cuda units were originally built for drag racing straight from the factory, with specific modifications to dominate quarter-mile runs. These examples are now considered near holy grails in the muscle car world. 1971 Pontiac GTO Judge. If the Barracuda was the roar, the Judge was the final verdict. Because this car didn't come to participate in the muscle car wars, it came to deliver the sentence. And the sentence was clear: speed or nothing. The Judge was born as a direct response to the booming muscle car scene in the late 1960s, but the 1971 model was its swan song, its last great stand before government regulations began tightening the noose on these monsters. And what a send-off it was, my friends. What a send-off. Under its massive hood beat a gigantic heart, the legendary 455 V8, a colossal machine delivering 335 horsepower. The numbers might not seem outrageous compared to previous years, but there's one detail that makes it thrilling: the brutal torque of 500 pound-feet. What does that mean? That when you stomped the accelerator, the thrust was so immediate and crushing that it made you forget about any spec sheet. In terms of acceleration, the GTO Judge could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in approximately 6.1 seconds. Remember, this was in an era without modern electronic assists, no traction control, no ABS, just you, the wheel, and the deafening roar of the V8. Aesthetically, it was a visual spectacle. Its aggressive front end, hidden headlights, side graphics, massive rear spoiler, and those vibrant colors, like the famous Orbit Orange, made it a true rolling show. You'd see it coming in your rearview mirror, and you knew you were about to be passed by a legend. And here comes the gem of the story. In 1971, Pontiac produced only around 374 units of the GTO Judge with the 455 HO, making it one of the most sought-after and difficult-to-find models today. A flawless example can currently fetch between $150,000 and $300,000 at high-end auctions. And why was it called the Judge? It was a humorous nod to the popular late 60s comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Pontiac cleverly turned that joke into a statement of automotive supremacy. Here comes the Judge. But this Judge didn't write laws. It demanded respect with every inch of asphalt. There's something almost magical when you look at a GTO Judge. You feel the weight of an era, a time when automakers weren't afraid to take risks, when excess was a virtue and the passion for speed was a religion. 1970, Dodge Challenger RT. All right, my friends, take a deep breath, because what's coming next is pure mechanical poetry. The Dodge Challenger RT isn't just a muscle car. It's the perfect symbol of everything that golden era represented. Excess, boldness, wild style, and a presence that still intimidates today with just a glance. In 1970, Dodge had no intention of falling behind while its rivals dominated the streets. The Challenger was born as a direct response to muscle fever, but from its very first design sketch, it was clear. It would be different, longer, wider, more menacing, a predator on asphalt. Under its muscular hood, the RT, road.track, offered several engine options, but the crown jewel, the real monster, was the 426 Hemi 5.8. This colossus unleashed 425 horsepower and a brutal torque of 490 pound-feet, making the Challenger a land missile capable of devouring the quarter mile in just 13 seconds and accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.5 seconds. For the early 70s, that was simply insane. But the Challenger RT wasn't just raw power, it was a visual spectacle. The aggressive hood scoops, the iconic shaker hood trembling with every roar of the engine, the bumblebee side stripes, hidden headlights, and that long, imposing silhouette sculpted to slice through the wind. And to top it off, those wild colors like sublime green, plum crazy purple, or gold mango orange that turned heads everywhere it went. In terms of production, only 356 Hemi RT units were built in 1970, making it a highly coveted museum piece today. Its rarity and mystique easily push its current value beyond $400,000, often reaching much higher at exclusive auctions depending on condition and originality. But here's a fascinating, almost cinematic detail. This car didn't just conquer the streets, it conquered the big screen too. Who doesn't remember the white Challenger from Vanishing Point? That wild pursuit cemented the model's cultural icon status, fueling the legend of its untamable character. But now I want to hear from you, my friends. If right now, at this very moment, someone handed you the keys to a Challenger RT, would you have the courage to tame this beast? Leave your answer in the comments and tell me, what color would you choose to see it shine in your garage? Because sometimes dreaming together about these legends is almost as thrilling as driving them. 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am SD 455. Now, my friends, let's talk about a true survivor. Because when the fire of the muscle car era was starting to die out under government regulations, the 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am appeared as the last roar of a glorious era. This car was, quite literally, the final wild breath before government crackdowns and the oil crisis tried to tame American muscle. The SD in its name stands for Super Duty, and that's no coincidence. Pontiac wasn't ready to surrender without a fight. Thus was born one of the most legendary engines ever put in a muscle car, the SD 455. A monstrous 7.5-liter block built with forged internals, a steel crankshaft, reinforced connecting rods, and a lubrication system designed to withstand extreme punishment. Officially, Pontiac claimed 310 horsepower, but the truth was very different. Experts know that the SD 455 easily delivered over 370 real horsepower at more than 510 pound-feet of torque. pure mechanical dynamite hidden behind modest figures to avoid restrictions. In terms of performance, the Trans Am could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds. An impressive number, especially considering that by then, muscle cars were entering their most difficult decade. This car literally humiliated many of its contemporaries that had already been neutered by the new regulations. Visually, it's a work of art that breathes aggression and elegance in equal parts. Its iconic Phoenix on the hood, the mythical screaming chicken, dominated the scene, announcing that anyone approaching was facing something very, very special. Its redesigned bumpers, mandated by new impact regulations, gave it a muscular, solid, almost defiant look. But what truly elevates the SD455 to legendary status is its exclusivity. In 1973, Pontiac built only 252 Trans Am units equipped with the Super Duty 455. Today, these examples are coveted as automotive jewels. Their current value ranges between $150,000 and $300,000 depending on condition and originality. And here's a little-known fact. Pontiac originally planned to further develop the SD455 for NASCAR and professional drag racing, but government pressure and new emissions limits killed that dream. The true potential of this engine was never fully unleashed, which only adds to the myth. 1970, Mercury Cougar Eliminator. Now join me, because what we're about to explore isn't just a muscle car, it's one of those hidden gems of the golden era that has been unjustly overlooked. The Cougar Eliminator didn't scream like the others, it whispered with a chilling confidence. It was the elegant wolf among a pack of beasts. Mercury, Ford's luxury division, wanted to offer something different than the Mustang, more refined, more exclusive, but with the same wild heart. That's how the Cougar was born, and within that distinguished family came the Eliminator, its wildest variant, a name that left nothing to the imagination. Under its sleek hood, the Eliminator offered several engine options, but the true soul of this car beat in the brutal 428 Cobra Jet V8. This colossus officially produced 335 horsepower, but we all know the reality far exceeded that figure. Many experts agree the real power of the Cobra Jet hovered easily around 400 horsepower, accompanied by a massive 440 pound-feet of torque. In practice, that meant the Cougar Eliminator could launch its elegant body from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.8 seconds, putting it head-to-head with the most feared monsters of its time. And it did so wrapped in elegant, almost mafioso silence, like someone who doesn't need to brag to dominate. Visually, the Eliminator was sublime. Its clean lines, divided grille with hidden headlights, bulging hood with functional scoop, rear spoiler, and side stripes gave it a muscular yet refined silhouette. The colors were an absolute spectacle. The famous competition orange, grabber blue, bright yellow, shades that emphasized its duality, luxury and aggression perfectly balanced. In terms of production, only 2,267 Cougar Eliminators were built in 1970, making it extremely difficult to find today. A flawless example can fetch between $90,000 and $150,000, depending on configuration, documentation, and originality. And here's a fascinating fact. The Cougar Eliminator was, in many ways, the muscle car for gentlemen. Mercury marketed it as the perfect car for those who wanted all the brutality of a muscle car without sacrificing comfort, premium finishes, or advanced technology for its time. It was the muscle car for the man in a suit, with an iron fist hidden up his sleeve. 1971 Dodge Charger RT. Get ready, because what we're about to unleash is pure presence. The Dodge Charger RT didn't just enter the scene, it dominated it. Its silhouette alone had the power to silence an entire block. It didn't need to say a word. Just seeing it parked was enough to let everyone know they were looking at a predator. The Charger was already legendary by the late 60s, but in 1971 it received a radical redesign, with smoother curves, muscular lines, and a visual aggression that seemed sculpted specifically to intimidate. This was the first year of the third generation, and Dodge went all in to give the public a muscle car that wasn't just fast, but absolutely imposing. Under the long, menacing hood of the RT, several engines were offered, but the true king of this jungle was the brutal 426 Hemi 5.8. Yes, once again, the feared Hemi, that living legend of steel and explosions, delivering a massive 425 horsepower and roughly 490 pound-feet of torque. Numbers that, when laid down on asphalt, allowed this giant, tipping the scales at over 3,700 pounds, to hit 60 miles per hour in just 5.7 seconds and run the quarter mile in a little over 13 seconds. For its size, my friends, that was almost supernatural. But it wasn't just a rocket. It was a moving work of art. The split Coke bottle grille, hidden headlights, flared wheel arches, the flowing body lines, every detail was designed to transmit power, speed, and sensuality in equal parts. And, of course, the psychedelic colors of the era, plum crazy purple, Hemi orange, citron yellow, giving it an unmistakable character under the sun. As for production, only 63 units of the 1971 Charger RT were built with the 426 Hemi engine, making them one of the holy grails of muscle car collecting today. Finding one in perfect condition could take years of searching, and their value easily exceeds $400,000, depending on history and authenticity. Now, I have a tough question for you. If you were standing in front of these two titans, the Dodge Charger and the Dodge Challenger, with both sets of keys on the table, which one would you pick? You can't say both. You have to choose one. Drop your answer in the comments and explain why. Fair warning, making this decision might cause an elevated pulse and a heavy dose of nostalgia. 1970 Ford Mustang Boss 302. In the world of muscle cars, where quarter-mile domination was king, Ford understood there was another battle happening on the asphalt, the Trans Am Racing Championship. And to win it, they needed a car that combined power and agility. That's how this refined warrior was born. Under the hood, the Boss 302 packed a 4.9-liter V8, officially rated at 290 horsepower. Though, as always, the reality far exceeded that figure. On the dyno, many Boss 302s easily topped 320 realty horsepower. But the most hypnotic part was how it behaved, revving like a race engine, climbing up to 6,200 RPM with a metallic growl that gave you goosebumps. In acceleration, the Boss 302 reached 60 miles per hour in about 6.5 seconds and completed the quarter mile in approximately 14.5 seconds. But its real playground was the corners. Thanks to its reinforced suspension, quick steering, thick stabilizer bars, and near-perfect weight balance, the Boss 302 could dance through circuits while other muscle cars only knew how to go straight. Visually, it was a masterpiece of restrained aggression. The rear spoiler, matte black hood with its prominent air intake, Boss 302 side stripes, and that fastback body that looked like it was sculpted by the wind. In terms of production, Ford built 7,013 Boss 302 units in 1970, making it a serious object of desire for collectors today. Its current value ranges from $80,000 to $150,000 depending on condition and originality. But here's the detail that purists fall in love with. The Boss 302 wasn't just a street car, it was practically a race car for the road. Many Trans Am drivers still consider the 1970 Boss 302 one of the finest chassis ever produced in the muscle car era, able to stay glued to the asphalt while the tires squealed in pure pleasure. 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. Now, I ask you something. For a moment, forget everything you know about muscle cars. Forget the usual names that always top the lists, because what we have here is, for many, the most underrated, yet one of the most brutal muscle cars of the entire golden era, the GSX. While other muscle cars sought to scream for attention, the GSX preferred to whisper. But with the whisper of a predator stalking its prey, Buick, known for luxury and comfort, decided in 1970 to show the world that it too could build a monster. And boy, did they succeed. Under that elegant hood lived the soul of this beast, the legendary 455 Stage 1 V8. Although Buick officially rated it at a modest 360 horsepower, the reality was quite different. Experts and independent tests placed its real output closer to 400 to 420 horsepower with an absolutely devastating 510 pound-feet of torque, the highest torque ever offered by a factory muscle car in 1970. And how did that translate to the asphalt? The GSX Stage 1 launched at nearly 2 tons of pure steel from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.5 seconds and ran the quarter mile in about 13.4 seconds. Numbers that humiliated many louder, more famous rivals. This car was quite literally an iron fist wrapped in a silk glove. Visually, the Buick GSX didn't go unnoticed. Wide black stripes running down the body, a prominent rear spoiler, functional hood scoops, flawless chrome bumpers, all perfectly crowned by its striking colors, the iconic Saturn yellow and Apollo white, the only two available for the 1970 GSX. When one of these rolled down the street, even the toughest muscle car stopped to watch with respect. As for production, only 678 GSX Stage 1 units were built in 1970, elevating it to absolute legend status today. Its current value easily ranges between $120,000 and $250,000, depending on condition and originality. And here's a little-known fact. In the horsepower wars, the GSX Stage 1 was a car that even scared the mighty Hemi on the drag strips. Many underground racers of the time feared facing a Buick GSX because its brutal low-end torque could simply destroy anyone off the line. 1971 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. In 1971, the Camaro entered its second generation, adopting a completely new design. Longer, lower, wider, with lines that looked as if they were drawn by the wind itself. Chevrolet's designers took inspiration from European sports cars, but wrapped it all in that unmistakable American character that made the car look like it was moving even when standing still. Beneath that sleek hood lived the heart of the Z28, the powerful LT 1355.7-liter 5.8, officially delivering 330 horsepower. What was most impressive was its high-revving nature, reaching 6,000 RPM, something uncommon for most muscle cars of the era, which typically favored low-end torque. This high-revving personality made it a true track toy. In terms of performance, the 1971 Z28 could hit 60 miles per hour in 6.4 seconds and complete the quarter mile in about 14.2 seconds. But its real strength was in the corners. Thanks to its refined suspension, thick stabilizer bars, quick steering, and perfectly balanced chassis, the Z28 constantly begged you to push it harder and faster. Visually, the Z28 was pure spectacle. The bulging hood with its signature centered air intake, black stripes running from front to rear, perfectly integrated chrome bumpers, and round headlights framing that aggressive grille that seemed to challenge anyone in its path. In terms of production, approximately 4,862 Z28 units were built in 1971, making it relatively more accessible than ultra-limited muscle cars, but still highly coveted for its mechanical purity. Today, a flawless example can fetch between $60,000 and $120,000 depending on condition, matching numbers, and documentation. And here's the detail that purists love. While most muscle cars were beginning to bow under emission and insurance regulations, the 1971 Z28 was one of the last to stay true to the original formula. Small block, high compression, high revs, and pure man and machine connection. In many ways, it was a muscle car with the soul of a European sports car, but with Detroit's wild heart. Now, here comes the real challenge. We've already seen the mighty Mustang Boss 302 and now the iconic Camaro Z28. And the question is simple, but painful. Which of these two titans would you choose? The razor-sharp roar of the Boss or the metallic howl of the Z28? Drop your answers in the comments and tell me why. 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS. At the peak of its mechanical arrogance, Chevrolet in 1970 unleashed this machine. Fearless, unrestricted, and merciless. The Chevelle SS was already an imposing car, but when they equipped it with the most brutal engine ever to come out of their factory, the legendary 454 LS 67.4-liter V8, the Chevelle crossed the line from muscle to myth. Officially, it delivered 450 horsepower, but those who were there, who drove it, know that number was conservative. Many of these monsters, properly tuned, easily reached 500 real horsepower with a massive 500 pound-feet of torque, making it the most powerful production muscle car of its era. And what did all that fury do on the asphalt? Simple. It destroyed stopwatches. 0 to 60 miles per hour fell in about 5.4 seconds. The quarter mile disappeared in around 13.2 seconds. And if you had the courage to keep your foot down, it would push past 145 miles per hour like a Detroit missile on wheels. But the Chevelle wasn't just brute force. Visually, it was pure intimidation. The massive cowl induction hood with twin bulges, black stripes running across the body, the sharp grille, chrome bumpers gleaming under the sun, and a stance that demanded respect even before the engine was fired up. In terms of production, Chevrolet built approximately 4,475 units of the Chevelle SS 454 LS6 in 1970, making it an absolute treasure in the collector world. Today, a perfectly restored or matching numbers example can easily command between $150,000 and $300,000, and even more at specialty auctions. And here's a little-known fact. This Chevelle LS6 was born at a time when the automakers were beginning to feel the weight of federal regulations. But Chevrolet was one step ahead. They knew the era of wild muscle was coming to an end, and so the LS6 was launched as their final battle cry, their farewell to excess, giving the world the most brutal muscle car ever homologated in Chevrolet's history. And there you have it, my friends. 10 of the most beautiful, brutal, and coveted muscle cars the 1970s gave us. Machines that didn't just define an era, they still make our hearts race even today. But now I want you to help me write the final chapter of this journey. Which of these titans for you is the true king of the 70s? Drop your answer below, and if you have a personal story, a memory, a family tale with any of these cars, I want to read it. And if this trip into the roar of the 70s got your heart pumping, you won't want to miss this. Here's another video where we explore the most beautiful muscle cars of the 1960s, the decade where this madness we love so much was born. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because that helps me keep bringing these forgotten gems right to your screen. See you on the next journey